shows the inside of a courtroom with George Coe as judge, who bangs the gavel and says, "Order, order in the court. We are back resuming the trial of State versus Samurai." Shows John Belushi as Samurai sitting at defense table with Phil Hartman as his public defender, Pete Dender. Shows Jan Hooks as the prosecutor, who says, "The state calls the victim Violet Rose to the stand, Your Honor." Shows Gilda Radner as Violet Rose enter the courtroom and sit in the witness stand. Norm MacDonald, as a bailiff, approaches Radner with the Bible and says, "Now, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, you know." Radner places her hand on the Bible and says, "I do." Hooks, "Now, Miss Rose, I want to take you back to last year. Did you do any shopping at any stores you were unfamiliar with?" Radner, "Yes, I went to a sex shop." Hartman winks at Denitra Vance in the jury box, who gives him a disgusted look back. Hooks, "And who was running that sex shop?" Radner points at Belushi and says, "Him, the defendant." Hooks, "And can you identify him by an article of clothing he's wearing?" Radner, "He's wielding a katana?" Belushi gets up and cuts the defense table in half while yelling, shows Chris Farley in the jury box, who is petrified. Hartman stands up and says, "Objection, Your Honor. The state asked for an article of clothing, not an accessory or weapon." Coe, "Overruled. Since your client used the accessory pointed out by the witness to cut your table in half, the record is clear about whom she is referring to. Please continue, State." Hooks, "And what happened when you were in this sex shop?" Radner, "Well, I was there with my boyfriend." Hartman, "Objection, Your Honor. This woman doesn't look like she'd even have a boyfriend." Coe, "Sustained. Ma'am, please show a little more cleavage so we can believe you had a boyfriend." Radner rolls her eyes and adjusts her blouse to show more cleavage. Hartman, "That's better." Hooks, "Ugh. And what happened when you and your boyfriend were at the sex shop?" Radner, "We asked about dildos." Belushi gets up and cuts the prosecutor's table in half while yelling, shows Farley in the jury box, who says, "I think I just wet myself." Radner, "And after we asked for the dildo section, that's exactly what he did. Yelled in Japanese and cut a table in half with his katana." Hooks, "And what happened next?" Radner, "Well, my boyfriend told Samurai that he didn't appreciate that kind of behavior." Hooks, "And then what happened?" Radner, "Samurai proceeded to slice my boyfriend in two." Belushi gets up and begins yelling and runs towards Farley with his katana. Just as Belushi was going to strike Farley in the midsection with the katana, Farley faints and falls out of the jury box as Belushi cuts his chair in half. Hartman, "Motion for a new trial, Your Honor. That jury member seems to have wet himself and is passed out cold." Attaboy, Samurai. "And dead from the earth, we're not alive. It's Saturday Not Alive, starring John Belushi, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, Norm MacDonald, Gilda Radner, Denitra Vance, and with many other special deceased contributors, musical guest Tupac Shakur, and your host, George Carlin. Everybody, George Carlin." Applause, applause, applause. Carlin, "Thank you, thank you. Happy to be here. So this is the 200th episode of this program." Applause, applause, applause. Carlin, "Is it only the 200th, though?" I feel like it's the 500th. Almost every day the producer is putting this thing out. My God, talk about someone who would work for free. Anyway, besides being the 200th episode, this is the second time I've hosted this program, joining Kobe Bryant as the only two-time host. Bryant comes out and puts a leather jacket on to Carlin and says, "Welcome to the Two-Timers Club, George." Carlin, "Thanks, Kobe. Not exactly a five-timer smoking jacket, but it'll do." Now, speaking of second times, you know what I wouldn't want to do a second time? Die! I can't believe these cretins here who are obsessed with reincarnation. Instead of enjoying the ether and watching Sydney Sweeney undress while invisible, they want to go be a soul in some ugly, squish-faced little 5-pound thing coming out of some lady's pussy. And then, even though they know all the secrets of the universe while dead, they go back to being an idiotic baby. Now, I've met a lot of idiots in my life and death, but nobody is dumber than babies. They can't do anything. You gotta feed them, change their diapers, bathe them. They can't talk, can't walk, can't tell you what's wrong. The worst of the worst, of course, are dead babies. At least the living ones will grow up and learn how to do everything. Not dead babies. They just remain dumb and unable to care for themselves. Luckily, they all end up at Michael Jackson's ranch, where he takes care of them. But besides babies, there's plenty of dumb adult people. Did you hear about all the living people who are still paying for cable TV? They don't watch any of the channels anymore and pay over $200 a month when they can just pay for Netflix and chill. But that's the thing now. Cable's got nothing but sports, so if you want to watch a new show, you either need Netflix, Apple, HBO, Hulu, Peacock, Disney, Amazon, Paramount, Sling, YouTube, Showtime, Fubo, Philo, Stars, Tubi, DirecTV, Acorn TV, BritBox, PlayStation View, ESPN Plus, Twitch, or Vimeo. So that's over 20 different streaming services you can pay monthly for. But boy, that gets to be a hassle. I paid Fubo, but not Philo. I let Apple take a bite out of my checking account, but Netflix is left wanting. YouTube I paid, HBO I strayed. I paid Jeff Bezos, but not Mickey Mouse. If only there was something that I could pay a shitload of money for every month that would keep all these together for me. Oh, that's right, cable. Yikes, you people down there are fucking nuts. And then after you work all day to get that cable you don't watch, and those 20 bundles you can't keep up with, those reincarnated fools do it a second time. Die. And join us again. And then the real assholes, where infinite wisdom isn't enough a second time, go back for thirds. Anyway, we have a great show tonight. Tupac is here. So let's see if we hear some changes. We'll be right back.